Hey, it's Vicky. I'm here today with the Real Exchange.
Larry, aka the Black Valentino. So this is the Real Exchange on the street.
We have stepped out of the studio to find out people's opinions on 3 of the hot topic questions. Number 1 being, can long distance relationships work?
Is sex important in a relationship?
And number 3, who pays on the first date? Okay, so let's go and find out people's opinions on these 3 topics. Come on. Question is, who do you think should pay on the first date? Even if it's a new relationship, like, who do you think should pay?
Well, from experience, I definitely think the man should pay. I'm all about feminism, but I just do think it's a bit of manners, like just a bit of good manners. Do you not agree?
Always pay, lads. Always pay. Don't be silly.
Okay, so what about follow-on dates? Do you think it should be split from then, or should it be like a tradition that has been started that he always pays?
I think it's good manners for we've been together 3 years now, and I'd pay the odd time, just so he doesn't think I'm stokey.
Do you agree?
Always be generous and you'll be fine. I think is the key to happiness in life, probably, yes.
At least if you offer, it's down to him to say no, so.
Exactly, and he more or less
But just generally speaking, what's your opinion on that?
on women paying, or I think if a girl really wants to pay, I think it's well within her rights to pay, and if a boy is very much threatened by that, then he'll probably pay. I think it's good manners to at least offer and be like, oh no, I'll get this, and then the boy will be like, no, it's fine. No, but my friend did, and he made her pay for the diesel to come and collect her. I know, that's why she's going to kill me for saying that. He actually said he forgot his wallet and made her pay for the cinema ticket and the diesel and a McDonald's. He just went through the McDonald's and made her pay. Yeah, so they're not together anymore, but yeah, with us it's, yeah. I don't know if you have, but.
No, I think I've always paid, yeah, on dates, I think. I probably is, but yeah, I mean, you should be able to provide for everybody, shouldn't you? There should be no problem there. Yeah, if you're doing your job right, you'll be fine. You can't complain.
I think the guy.
I think should be the guy as well.
Yeah. For the first few dates, actually, I would pay the bill. For the first few dates, I would pay the bill, at least, I think.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. Like, first few dates, for sure, but after that, I think it should become more or less even, especially if it's a relationship. Like, yeah, I think the first few dates that there's a novelty of it, and the guy kind of does have to take the charge on that, I think. But yeah, after that, we should probably placate a little bit.
Why do you think the guy should actually pay on the first date?
Yep.
I just think it's like a gentlemanly thing to do. Like, it's just sort of tradition, isn't it? And it's kind of expected, I think.
And have you been in this situation, or if you have someone with you,
Yeah, I've been in the situation before, and I have. But if I wasn't able to pay because I lost my wallet or something, I'd probably expect the person to understand. But I never really thought of that. Huh?
would you still go on the date?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I don't really have a good answer for like why I think the guy should pay, but I think it's just social norm, and like I'm happy to like partake in it. But yeah, no. I do also believe there should be some understanding if you can't pay. I mean, if there's not, it kind of is a bad indicator for the relationship or whatever else, I think. Yeah.
And if a girl insists that she wants to pay at least half of
Right, yeah, no, I think it'd be nice, like, even just be able to talk about it, be like, yeah, I'm happy to go 50-50 if she insists, but other than that, no, I would absolutely always offer to pay first.
I think the guy should pay. I just feel like it's kind of like he's interested in her and he wants to make sure that she has a good time, and it's just a courteous thing to do, isn't it? Like, he pays for the coffee and the food, and maybe like a few dates down the line she'll pay for something else, but it just kind of makes sure that he's sealed the deal and she's kind of like, oh, I quite like this guy. Yeah.
Okay, so we had one person that we were speaking to before, and they said that the guy made the girl pay for diesel to come and pick him up. What about like if a guy pretended he forgot his wallet and made you pay for it? Like, how would you feel about that?
I mean, you'd feel a bit iffy because like that seems quite like an obvious kind of you'll pay for the date, but if I'm gonna pay for the date, I think it would slightly change my mind, but I wouldn't 100%. If the guy's nice, then I go for it. But if he's pulling that out as a kind of like, oh, I forgot my wallet, then maybe you'd rethink things. I don't know. Oh yeah, I've paid dates before because I think it's nice. I think like you're showing that you care about them, and money isn't a big thing, like it's like, oh, I'll pay for your date because you pay for the last one, or if you're going to pay for the next one, I'll pay for the next one after. It's just a courteous thing to do, I think.
But that is for someone you've been on a date with before.
Yeah. The first time, I mean, it's just a chivalrous thing, isn't it? It's quite a girly thing. You want the guy to pay for a date. It feels like, not that he's just taking control of the situation, that kind of way.
Would that change? Would that have would that form anything for you?
Maybe slightly, but not 100%. If you like the guy, I think you would stick it through.
Okay, so say that you were starting to talk to someone and you wanted to take them out on a date. Who do you think should pay for the first date?
100% me, yeah. I'm paying every time. Like, I mean, it's really nice if she offers to pay. Like, that's just like that's a bonus, but I would still be like, no, I'm paying, And on the second date, hopefully, like, I would still pay on the second date, but I would hope that she'd be like, no, you got the last one, so I'll get this one. That's what I'd be hoping for. But if she didn't, I wouldn't mention it until like the third or fourth date, because then I'd just feel like I'm being taken for a free ride and she just wants food. So like I would definitely be expecting her to pay at some point, definitely not on the first date. Like, no, because in my mind it's just like I take 15 minutes to get ready, a girl probably takes 3 hours. So it's not like I'm paying for their time, but it's like they've invested time for me to get ready. I haven't, so it's like the least I can do is, pay for the meal.
I like your honest answers. Like if you really, really like this girl and she was turning up and she wasn't offering to pay at all, like, would that change your perception on her as a person, or would it depend on how much you like her?
No, I've got my integrity. Like, I mean, if I went into 2 or 3 dates and like she hadn't even offered to pay or whatever, that would definitely be a red flag, and I just kind of cut it off there, because like otherwise it's like a relationship is 50-50. Like I'm happy enough to pay for maybe most of things, but if she's just literally just coming and expecting me to be her sugar daddy, like, no, because realistically we're both going to be probably working in similar jobs, making similar money. We're both as invested in the relationship, hopefully, as we are. So I would expect that mutual respect for her to pay, at least once or twice. I'm not talking about like every time, obviously, but I would expect that at least.
I feel like, if it's like a mutual agreement to go on a date, I think it should be split evenly, to be honest, because like I feel like both people want to be there, so why should one person have to pay over the other?
What would you do?
What would I do? I'd split it with somebody. Or if they didn't want to split it, I'd probably pay for it, but
But what if it was you interested in the person you wanted to take on the date?
oh, I'd probably pay then, yeah.
Would be interested in taking that person on a date. If they turned up and you asked them to split the bill and they said no, what would happen then? Or what would be your opinion?
I'd be embarrassed. I'd be like, yeah, I'll pay it, it's fine. Like, I'd be like, yeah, I'll pay it, it's fine. But I would sort of be like, what the fuck, like, you came for a date with no money, like, but I would still be happy enough to pay it.
But if you asked the person out on the date and they didn't bring no money, would that be okay because you initiated the date first?
Well, yeah, I suppose so, yeah. Like, if I was with a guy and he says, like, yeah, like, you asked me this date, like, I didn't know money, I was like, yeah, I'll pay for it. Like, I'd probably offer to pay for it anyway, but I would prefer it be split, if that makes any sense.
Okay. So you take over, would you say paying for the first date is like a really manly role to play? Or do you think that like we're now in the 21st century, it should be like split?
Interesting. But yeah, back in the day, I feel like it would have been like a manly role. But nowadays, we're 21st century, like gender roles are more equal, like sexuality is more widespread, and I feel like it should just be split because like we are more equal now. Like, yeah, it was seen like a manly thing to do back in the day, but that's not the way of the world anymore.
Do you think that sex is an important part of a relationship? And if so, or if not, explain and tell us why.
No, I think it's completely important. Like, if you're not actually intimate with somebody, then you're just friends. Like,
Of course it's an important part. Of course. Who are you kidding? Come on. Don't be silly.
Big part or a small part of a relationship?
A small part, in my opinion. Like, I'm not that fussed on it. Like, I prefer more like the intimacy of being with somebody and like actually having that person who's like the other part of you. So like, the sex isn't a massive part for me. So I think it doesn't need to be there all the time.
So you can build a connection more on intimacy and just chatting than actual sexual one. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Depends on the expanded questions. Yeah, I do think it's really important to be honest.
Sure on that.
If I'm allowed. No, I think it is. I think it's just like an integral part of a relationship at the end of the day. I think.
So if it doesn't happen, so let's say you are asking for it, getting you would then be comfortable and
I'd probably respect her wishes. If it was like a long-term thing again, you know, a year or 2 years, I don't know if I could, but short-term, yeah, definitely could.
I do think it's important, but I don't think it's crucial. But I think when it's, you know, when it can happen for whatever reason, there needs to be like a lot of trust and a lot of like explanation that is honest about it. Because I think when it doesn't happen, like it can be a bit of a taxing thing on the relationship. Like you may develop kind of maybe trust issues, I think. Because it can be a bit of a hit to the ego when you're being denied, especially when it's not being explained. If it's a genuine issue, like absolutely, but if you're just being denied, I can understand how people get really uncomfortable, personally.
One, do you think that sex is an important part of a relationship?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I mean, 100%. I mean, like I don't have the biggest sex drive, like, but I mean, I couldn't. If it was a long distance or wasn't seeing them for like weeks or months, that would definitely be a problem, like 100%.
Could you could go without sex or intimacy of any kind in a relationship that you've been in?
It depends, because if it's a girl that I've only known or been with for a few months, then I'm not saying I'd like cut it off, but if it was someone that I was like committed to like a year or two, you know, I would wait for them. But as long as it wasn't longer than like a month, I would say.
I think it depends on the context. If you're in one just for the sake of it, you know, say you meet a girl in England and you have no intentions of moving to England or to be with her, I don't think it's going to work out. But if it's like a short-term thing, say someone's moving for a job for 6 months, I think it would work out. I would go with that, but I don't think I'd get into one if I knew that there was no end to it.
Yeah, I think it's possible for one to work out, and I think if it does work out as well, that probably is really good proof of like a really strong and stable and trustworthy relationship. I do believe they're difficult though. I don't think it's for everyone. But yeah, as you said, kind of like just essentially you're probably able to feel if you can or cannot do it. And if you can't, I think it's not really fair to try to uphold something that you can't actually sustain, I think.
Very good answer there, though.
So, and how long would be the longest that you would stay away from your partner in your relationship?
I couldn't quantify that. I've been away for like a month because my girlfriend like went on like a month-long like holiday around Europe, and I just stayed here. It wasn't easy, like, but it wasn't like catastrophic or anything either, because you knew they're gonna be back. I don't know. It'd be probably hard to imagine what it'd be like, say over a year, whatever. But I don't know how much would be too long for me. Yeah, I don't think it'd be easy, because like phone calls or whatever don't really. They don't really substitute for it. Like even like during lockdown, like calling your friends is just not the same thing. Like the in-person interaction is so much better, I think.
Yeah, I think the limit for me would be like 4 to 5, 6 months, and it would have to be a definite end. It couldn't be like, you know, if so.
But what's your view on long distance relationships? Do you think that they can work, or have you ever been in one?
I don't know how long distance away is Scotland, but I've been in a semi one, and obviously it hasn't worked out. But I think if you want it enough, it can work. Like fair play to everybody, so it can.
I've never been in one, and I don't think they're a good idea.
No? Why
No.
do you not think they're a good idea though?
Unless you kind of have a plan to be back together within the next year, no, it'll not work out. You'll grow apart. Yeah.
Okay, I've got. Do you think that long distance relationships can work?
I think they can work. I've heard of people that have made it work. I'd say it'd be really hard. I mean, you'd have to put in a lot of effort. You'd need to be so loyal, as you would. But yeah, I think it could work personally. You just need to make sure that you're happy and that you don't want anybody else, you know, that kind of way.
Do you think that, like, whenever you say long distance relationship, do you think like England is long distance, or do you think it could work if, like, say the person was in America? Like, do you think that that's too much of a distance?
I don't think the distance matters. I mean, if they're not at your house, then they're in a distance. So if they're in America, they could be in England. And if they're in England, they could be like somewhere south. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter. I think distance is distance. They're still away.
But you would have to have, like, you would definitely have to have that loyalty in the relationship to make it work, wouldn't you?
100%. Like, you'd need to make sure that you really like the person and that you're loyal to them and you won't go with anybody else and you'll be like, yeah, you're the one for me.
Do you think, though, that having a long distance relationship, that you would need to communicate more, like on a level of like phoning and texting more, kind of keeping up with each other in communication? Like, what way do you think it works like that?
Yeah, I think it'd be quite hard. You need to kind of adapt to the fact that you need to text them quite a bit and tell you where you're at. It's not really, you don't need to tell them everything, but I mean, you need to stay loyal and you just need to tell them the truth and you just need to make sure that you're happy and that you're having fun and that you're in love with the person more than anything else. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Have I what? No, I've never been in a long distance relationship. I could, but I mean, I think it would be very hard. I do think it would be. Oh, a day? No, I don't know. I don't know. A week, maybe.
Long distance relationships, do you think that they can work or survive?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, like if people are committed to it and they actually want to be in it, yeah, like it could fully work. It definitely could work.
Have you ever been in a long distance relationship, or would you ever consider it?
I would consider it, yeah. If I really liked the person, I would. I haven't been in one, but if I really liked the person, I would. Like, I genuinely would. Like, if I knew it was somebody I wanted to be with, I wouldn't mind it being long distance.
If the person was moving away for work and you knew that they were going to be away for like a year, 2 years, and you were already in the relationship, would you continue it on?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because, like, you obviously want to be in a relationship. Pardon me, sorry, I got the higher ups. Like, you always want to be in a relationship with that person, so of course you're going to continue on. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, if you like that person, distance shouldn't matter.
How long do you think that you could go? How long do you think that you could go without actually seeing the person? So obviously, long distance relationships, you could meet up every couple of months or whatever. Like, what's the longest that you could go without actually seeing them in a long distance relationship?
I say a year. Because, like, I have a lot of, like, close friends that I don't see a lot, and I only see, like, once a year and stuff, and I still manage to keep them as friends with them. So I can imagine I could continue a relationship for the same amount of time. So I say a year, but the most.
But do you not think that an intimate relationship is different than a friendship?
Well, yeah, it is. It really is. But at the same time, like, you're in a relationship, so you obviously like that person a lot more than you like a friend. So I feel like that wee bit more feeling could actually work out a lot better for you.
So what about communication? So calls, texts, video calls, how often do you think that they should take place?
I think if you're in a long distance relationship, you should at least be like texting on a daily. And I say maybe like FaceTime or something, like 3 or 4 times a week.
Do you think that long distance relationships can work?
Yes and no. Everyone that I know that's ever attempted it, it's pretty much always resulted in it not working. There is some people, of course, that like no matter what, like they love each other so much that it's gonna work, you know, a year, 2 years, 3 years. But I feel like if you don't have that like intimate connection with someone, that you're seeing them daily or weekly or whatever, like that's what a relationship is. So I feel like if you're only just communicating through phone calls or FaceTime, it's just gonna fizzle out at the end, in my opinion. As long as it's not like, you know, if it's for like 6 months, a year, maybe you can make it work. Any longer than that, I just think like I don't see it happening myself personally.
So do you think that, like, if someone was living in Scotland compared to America, do you think like the distance of the long distance relationship makes a difference?
Yeah, because I mean, if it was a relationship that was, you know, someone was in Liverpool and someone was in London, that's only like a train away. You can make that work. You can go on to the weekend and see them. Whereas if it's a completely different country, that's not something you can just pop down to see them on the weekend. Like, that's just not going to happen. So like the distance itself 100% matters. 100%, yeah.
So if you were in a long distance relationship and they did live in London or Liverpool or wherever, like, how often would you expect to see them? Like, how often would you be expecting them or yourself to make the journey, to make the time?
Well, it depends on, there's multiple factors. I mean, work, especially, you know, if you're both career driven professionals and you're working a lot, then you're gonna have to make allowances that it's not gonna be every weekend. But if you are just sort of like, you know, working part-time or whatever, you've got like free time, I would expect it to be probably once, like every weekend, maybe once a fortnight, something like that.
Okay, so that's us rounded up. We have went and checked the opinions of people in and around the streets of Belfast. I find it really interesting. I thought there was some really good answers and really in-depth detail about the answers that were given. What about you?
Yeah. Personally, I feel like, you know, they had like, you know, some good points. I mean, it was like a very, very good thing that we did today, like, you know, at least for the public to be able to, like, you know, talk about these topics.
Until the next time, we've got some more topics to cover. So we'll see you then. Come back, stay tuned.